Hello, 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 and welcome back to the Encore podcast. I am your host, Michael C. Brown, and today I have a very, very special guest with us today, Mr. Shawn Girch, who is one of our beloved assistant principals here with us. Shawn, appreciate you being on the pod. I was trying to get you on for a while now, and with our schedules, it's um it's difficult to get us together in the same room. I don't even know now. Somebody might try to call or whatever case would be. So we will try to get this in as much as possible. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. I appreciate it. Yeah, feel excited to be here. I really appreciate the invite. Left my radio in my office, so it won't go off. But I'm excited to talk to you and kind of share any my information, talk about the school. So
All right, man. Well, look, we'll dive right. Look, your time is of the essence, so we try to dive in and get into this as much as possible. So, um, we know you're assistant principal here at Winners Mill. So just talk about how long you've been in this role and kind of like what that role entails to you.
yeah, so this is my third year at Winters Mill. Ironically enough, I am the most seasoned assistant principal in the building. I wouldn't say I know the most, but I'm the most seasoned in the building. So the role is ever changing. Every single day it's different. It's when you look at the job description, I don't think any of what's in that job description is what we do on a daily basis. But it's fun. I enjoy coming to work every day. I enjoy dealing with all the things that are kind of presented to me and learning on what has to happen. I would say every single day it's a new thing. The collaboration that we have with our admin team is amazing to me. From something simple of hall passes to something huge as where do we go with what's best for this kid. We talk about it all. So I enjoy that very much. I think that on a day-to-day basis, I'm just here to support the kids, support the teachers, and just make this a great, atmosphere to come to work, but also for the students that they remember. High school is
Mm.
a huge part of their life, and they don't realize that now. But talk to any teacher, any colleague, anybody they remember their high school days, and it has to be positive.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I mean, I think for me, it's been just about you coming in. I remember exactly when your interview process and everything else. A lot of people don't know, but one of the things that uh, really was profound for me was uh, so typically you had this interview and it's a panel interview and we have these scripted questions that we have to ask and. Usually at the end of every interview, we usually ask, like, is there anything else that you would like to share
yeah.
about yourself or whatever? And I remember vividly for you, you were like, look, man, I know I can do this job. Like there's no doubt about it. If you're looking for somebody that's gonna work hard, X, Y, Z, like I can get the job done. Like you were just like so straight to the point, and basic about your response that I think everyone left out of there like, okay, this guy's like, he means what he's talking about. Like you made that kind of impact, and since you've been here, you've been that type of individual that when you are passionate about something and you're serious, of like there's really no stopping you. Like you're really like you know uh, set on something. You
Mhm.
really do a good job at that. So that was like something that really just resonated with me. It was just like your direct point of view was something just like hitting it straight where it was
Mhm.
at. But that was like I was like, man, this guy, he's serious. I think if he comes, he's going to do a good job because he's serious about everything that he does.
Well, I hope in the 2 years I've been able to do that. So still learning. I don't think that will ever change. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things about the job that make it challenging and those type of things. But what is one of the things that, or a couple of things that bring you joy that's really satisfying about the job of being assistant principal?
I mean, the main thing is the kids. Like, I always say, like, when it comes to the kids and what they're doing, that's all I care about. And it might upset some people. It might come across the wrong way, but in the end, I care about the kids. I have a business degree and a marketing degree. Like I can do any business job. I enjoy being in education. I enjoy coaching the kids, mentoring the kids, being there to kind of help guide them, even on the days that they don't need it or want it. So that's the main thing, is being able to see some excitement on their face, even if it's one day out of the week, even if it's a minute. Some of those rough kids, right? The kids that we kind of push to the side, like those are the ones I feel like I connect to the most. My educational background has kind of lent towards that, and those are the kids that I feel like I get the most out of. Even now when teachers might be having some issues with them, they come to me and I try to nurture them, but also like hold them accountable and have those conversations. So I think above all, it's the kids, because again, we can manage, we can lead, we can have any other type of job in business that doesn't deal with kids. And it might be a little bit more procedural, and I would know what I'm getting into on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I mean, you could tell you've done a lot of coaching in your career, and you can tell through how you interact with the kids that coaching aspect coming in over and over and over again. And anybody that knows that's played a sport or been involved with sports knows that probably your most favorite coach is probably the same one that challenged you the most, right? That wasn't easy on you, that probably was like riding you every day and could see something in you that was greatness or whatever and wanted to pull that out as much as they possibly can. I think you kind of see that every time you interact with kids, especially ones that's in your alphabet, is you trying to pull the best out of them and seeing what those things are and pulling that out of them. So I think that coaching aspect ties in a lot to like what you're doing and being effective at it.
It's basically how I look at running every day, like what we do with the kids, with the teachers, with everybody. I mean, coaching is what you want to do, right? Like if you think about anything in life, you want a good coach, whether it's your partner, whether it's your mentor. It's all about having a good coach. So, and when you coach as opposed to teach, to me, it's a little bit different. You're a part of the process as opposed to delivering all the information. So I want to be a part of that process. Coaching's huge. I think, I think it's a huge part of how we interact with people. I think sports in general are a great metaphor for life, and, holding people accountable, but also understanding that the first time you do something is not going to be the best time, that we have to shoot, on a lacrosse goal 100 times to even get close. Well, kids, we forget that kids need to do it 100 times, right? Kids late to class, a kid's not doing it right. Well, has it been 100 times yet? Right. And unless they spend, I think it's 1,000 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Unless they spend 1,000 minutes on it, that nothing ever becomes routine. So,
right. I try to tell people all the time is kids are here in high school to make mistakes.
Yes.
And that's what they're going to do. If there's one thing you rest assured of is that teenagers are going to make mistakes. Doesn't matter how, perfect you may think that they are or anything else. They make mistakes, and it's our job as far as administrators, teachers, and so forth to try to help them bounce back from those mistakes and be better off after those mistakes than what they were prior to. And that's kind of like the biggest thing. I guess for me is there are many challenges to
of course.
There are many challenges. So what would you say is one of those major challenges that makes your job difficult for you? And you only can say one. You can't say 10.
It's. I think the hardest thing is understanding where other people are coming from, but still getting to the end goal. And I guess what I mean by that is like we sit and have discussions behind closed doors of what is our end goal. We deliver that information to parents, to teachers, to students, but then that doesn't take into the personalities, right? And what's happening on a day-to-day basis. So I think remembering that, everybody has something going on. I always am able to do that with kids, but with adults, I feel like that's the hardest part, is remembering that we are all here for the same thing. We want to make sure that kids do the right thing, but we have to be able to hear everybody and make sure that we're leading in the right way. And you have to lead. I think, what do we have, 74 teachers? You have to lead 74 different ways.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and the goal is to get the best out of them. So making sure that everybody's heard, I think, is the hardest thing, because I know it, that I know it, but we have to let it be felt, I guess, is the idea. So
Yeah. I tell everybody all the time, it's one of those things where you have a school over 100, employees and 1,100 students, and every single one of those people have a different personality.
yes.
Every single one. So when you're trying to communicate, um, you have over 1,300 people that you have to communicate with in different ways and try to get the
Yeah.
most out of each individual person. And that is a lot to put on, one person. And there's going to be some bumps along the way where somebody may, um, hear what you said in a different way
For
than
sure.
what you intended it to be. And then so now you have to have follow-up conversations. But it's all about getting to know. And you also don't have the time for everybody to personally get to know you, to know, hey, well, this is, when I say this is what I mean, like sometimes I'm sarcastic. Sometimes people don't get my sarcasm and they're like, are you serious? I'm like, no, it's a joke. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, that's a lot to kind of, so I like that. That's a good thing to,
I mean, I
explore
think
too.
even when I look at what I do well, what I know my faults are, that goes right into it. So and you even said it, like, I'm very focused. I see what I need to do, I get to it. And I sometimes forget that there's some, turns in the road. It's not just a straight line. So
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about this earlier, or at least I did anyway, just your coaching background and those type of things. But I would love for listeners to kind of understand a little bit about Shawn Girch and, just your background, your interests, like how you got to be where you are now as assistant principal in Winters Mill.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, sports are huge in my life. I think that started early on. Give a shout out to Michael Duffy. Michael Duffy, head of athletics in Carroll County.
Don't blow his head up too much.
No, it's all right. He was my high school wrestling coach. He was very young at the time. All right, very young. But he was my high school wrestling coach. I actually do attribute a lot of my leadership and my sarcasm and how I do to him. So I got a passion. He pushed me. He allowed me to become the type of leader that I am today. But the sports were huge. I would say I was focused a lot on wrestling in high school. I went to college to play lacrosse. Played at Mount St. Mary's, which is Division I, and so I got to see that. And then I would say my ego got the best of me, and I was splitting time, and I didn't like to do that. So I transferred to York College, which was D3. So I have a great understanding of the difference between the levels and what it takes and how one's going to be different than the other. So that was great. And when I left out of college, getting back to Michael Duffy, offered me my first coaching position at Howard High School, and I was an assistant volunteer lacrosse coach. Loved it. From there, I got into coaching club lacrosse. I've had the opportunity to coach, I think it's been 23 Division I college players for lacrosse.
Wow, that's a big deal, man.
Yeah, it's
You should put that in your office somewhere. It's 23.
I didn't do the kids did the work. Come on,
Yeah.
I just yelled plays. So, but you see the difference in what it takes, right? Coaching a lot of club lacrosse, and then when I decided to transition into teaching, I started coaching high school wrestling. From there, I got very involved in the wrestling scene in Maryland, helping out at the state level, the regional level. I was coaching in Baltimore City, transferred over to Owings Mills in Baltimore County. I coached 1 year at Liberty, and then also coach youth. Another thing I'm proud of because of the type of kids is for 9 years straight, I had a wrestler in the state finals for wrestling.
Uh,
So it's good, and that was from multiple different schools.
mhm.
And one of the things that my team of coaches we were very proud of is that most of those kids weren't wrestling their whole life. You know, they were starting in high school. Um, but that coaching, like having that team around you, made a big deal. Um, I still currently help out with youth wrestling. Still currently help my I'm on like one of the assistant coaches for my kids club lacrosse team, and this is the first year in 5 years I'm not coaching any of their soccer teams. So I'm trying to push off, let them have another voice.
You're not like Deion Sanders, or you're like over top of the other coach, like just watching every. Hey, I wouldn't call that play, coach. I think.
So I am, and that's and my wife yells at me all the time, and I'm really trying not to be. So I try really hard because I'm like, oh, I wouldn't do it that way, but
Mhm.
um, I don't know. 17 years of coaching is a long time,
Mhm.
and just like any career, you learn a lot. You learn little things, and I think seeing that my kids are the benefactors of it.
Mhm.
It's funny talking to them, and they're like, I can't believe they didn't see this. I'm like,
Mhm.
well, bud, they weren't doing this at 6 months.
Right.
They weren't at
Right.
the high school lacrosse field or a wrestling match. They don't see this. So you know that coaching aspect, I think, is a big thing of who I am. Even when I'm trying to step back and not be the coach of who they are, I still I love it. I love it on a daily basis. Even when I'm watching we're out there working on the sideline, right? Watching it as administrators, I can't help but like play by play, and I do it with Jen Goslin all the time. Like, oh, did you see this? Did you see this? Like,
Mhm.
it's exciting for me. I love it. I love sports. I think it brings out the best in kids.
Yeah, it
So,
was one of the individuals. You give a shout out. Give a shout out to Kim Dolch and
yep.
Dave Dolch, who here when I first got hired. And one of the things she said to me, she was like, Michael, I believe that former athletes and coaches make the best
Mm-hmm.
school leaders. And because you see things from a different perspective than most people that haven't.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like you talk about trying to get the most out of people, like it's the same thing. It correlates. It's the same thing. Like you're trying to get the best out of people that you work with every day. You're coaching them every day to be better educators so they can help students at a
Yeah.
higher level. And it's the same thing when you translate it to the sports world. You're trying to get the best and most out of them. And it's just not, I tell people all the time, it's just not about um, helping teachers be the best person or
Mm-hmm.
versions of themselves just for students. I want to help them be the best versions of themselves to help them in life. So
Mm-hmm.
however I can help them get a leg up, I think you and I have had those conversations like, what can I do to help you get to where you want to be professionally? Um, because it's all about striving to get to the next step. I just can't look at you and be like, okay, well, as long as I get the most out of Sean's assistant principal, then
Yeah.
that's all that matters. No, it doesn't matter. If I leave here and go somewhere else and, 10 years later, you're still here being assistant principal, well, that's not going to sit well with me. Not from the coaching
Yeah.
perspective.
Yeah.
It's not, So I think that's really big when you think about it and the mindset that you have kind of in education, how it kind of like translates. So
For sure. Yeah. Having that vested interest in people, and even when they don't know you do, it's I mean, I think that's from our position. We have a vested interest in a lot of people that don't realize it. So it's good.
so I know this is something you like you love and probably hate to talk about this as well or whatever, but one of the things I admire about you is the kind of father that you are, right? And we talk about our kids all the time and how we're trying to raise them a certain way and how sometimes that's a little bit different than the societal pressures of how kids are kind of being raised now
Yep.
and everything else. But I'm fascinated with your three boys, and just how you and your wife are like raising them and the amount of energy and time that you put into your boys. Just briefly, because I know you don't want to go into it too much. I mean, shout out to your three boys because every time I see them, they are, so well behaved, and they may not always be like that at home. I know, but like when they're around me, I always kind of see that.
Yeah.
And the youngest one is doing moves, doing lacrosse
Crossing
moves on
people
you,
up,
like
yeah.
just doing like they're there, but they're always like working on some kind of other skill or
Yeah.
whatever the case may be. Just talk about your boys a little bit and how much you put into them.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're my entire life, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
it is what I live for. We know that. I've told you, I want to be the best person I am here, but if it comes to it, I'm picking them, and I think I'm clear in that, and it's not just a saying. It's me doing what needs to be done for them. Sports are huge with them right now. All right, like that's one of the things that takes up my time and my wife's time. We are separated probably every single night, driving three of them to three different locations most of the night. Just to give you an idea, this weekend, I was we were at football game here on Friday night, Saturday morning in Columbia for the Principal Academy that
Yep.
you were at.
Yep.
Then my wife during that time was up in New Jersey with my oldest for a soccer tournament, 3 hours driving there. Then I left the academy, went where my mother-in-law dropped my one son off for soccer in Catonsville, picked both of them up, drove over to Poly in Baltimore for another game, and then came back. And by that time, my wife had driven back another 3 hours,
Mm-hmm.
had the kids, and I came to homecoming. Got up the next morning, took my oldest up to Philly, and while my wife was doing some other stuff. So, we're crazy. We get it. And one of the things that this is where it's hard to talk about is like we have decided we want more, right?
Mm-hmm.
We want more for our kids, and it's they're not the best at every single thing,
Mm-hmm.
but academically we try to push them, behaviorally we hold them to another standard which they hate.
Yeah.
And then athletically, like we want them to do what's best, and unfortunately that means traveling to Frederick for lacrosse, traveling to Baltimore for soccer, traveling to Howard County for wrestling. Like that's the unfortunateness of it, but
Mm-hmm.
We made a statement when we first decided to have kids that while we have them, this is the time for them, right?
Mm-hmm.
We will be together, and that's fine.
You're
and,
like I had my time. We had our time, so
and we know we'll have it again.
Yeah.
And like that doesn't mean we don't take time for ourselves, but my kids mean everything. And honestly, like we talk about this, and when you and I have a conversation, why do anything if you can't be the best at it?
Mm-hmm.
Like honestly, what's the point?
Mm-hmm.
What's the point of doing your job if you can't strive to be the best?
Mm-hmm.
And our kids kind of see that. They want to, they get upset at practices when people are playing around. They get upset when people don't work hard, because that's something that takes zero talent, right?
Right.
Is just effort.
Right.
And they know that on a field, walking is not an option.
Mm-hmm.
I've coached them for so long that they know saying, I said, if you're walking, you're standing next to me. And I said, where am I? They're like, on the sideline. Okay. Yeah. So my kids are great. Like I can go on forever about them. I'm very boastful about them, but also humbled at who they are and what they do. And I love to see them progress. That's really the end of it. Is love to see where they started and where they go and what goals they have, because we talk about what is it that they want to do constantly. And they're still having fun.
Yeah.
They're still having fun.
Yeah. And I think that's a big thing too, because my daughter does tennis and
Yep.
field hockey and all stuff, and talk to a lot of different parents. And one of the things that resonated with me recently is like, she has one friend of hers that was also doing tennis,
Mm-hmm.
and hadn't seen her in a while, and the father comes to practice, I think, last week, and it's just like, yeah, she's doing softball real heavy now. And it was something that she wanted to do, and she loves it. And she will go to probably she'd probably go to every softball practice there was on earth because she loves it that much. And he's like, look, as a parent, I'm just going to go ahead and embrace that.
Yeah.
Like, he played tennis and everything else. He probably just within his selfishness probably would want her to stick in
Yeah.
tennis. And he's like, I just had to embrace that's what she wants to do. She already knows she wants to go to college and play softball at like 8 or 9 years old. And so I'm just going to go ahead and embrace that. So I feel like as a parent, all we can really do is support our kids on their hopes, dreams, and ambitions, not ours. And it comes a time where like they're able to articulate those things. And you just follow along with it. Like right now, I think, your kids are doing all, multiple sports, but it may become a time where, hey, look, Dad, lacrosse is, and that hasn't happened because they're still like, I want to do everything.
Do everything. Gosh, that we've even
you're like,
about
we
that.
hope that they choose one thing, but like right now they're just, going with everything. But yeah, I think that's really big. I appreciate you, talking about your kids. Yeah. Shout out to them. Shout out to them. So one of the things I ask everybody is, here at Winters Mill, we're about passion, purpose, pride, as you know. And so what would you say would be 3 things that you are passionate about? I think we just talked about one of them, but name 3 things you're passionate about.
I mean, I think my family. I mean, I'll lump my wife in there too. Like,
shout out to your wife.
Yeah, I mean, she doesn't get the credit she deserves, but we've little background. We've been together since high school. We've grown together. A lot of times, people say as they grow up, they grow apart. That's not our case. We absolutely enjoy raising our family and doing this together. So my family is huge. Another thing I'm passionate about is just business, right? Like, and I'll try to explain it. Like, I come into you and I tell you all these crazy ideas that I have, right? Like, my wife hates it because it's a new one every day, and I keep talking about, all right, I'm gonna do this. We talk about turf fields all the time. Like, I'm gonna do it. And if you don't believe me, just wait. Like, I said that during the COVID time, and I started a wrestling facility, and people, even John Lowe, told me this isn't gonna work, and I said, no, I got it. And people said, how are you gonna do it? I don't know. I'm going to. So I think through a lot of what I do, I'm very passionate about business. I try to bring that here. Sometimes it doesn't translate in the same way, but it's all about business and what you're doing. And then I think the third thing I'm passionate about is design, right? And what that means is logo design, apparel design, and things like that. Like, those are things that I love doing. I mean, posters around the building, even when I'm playing around, and I'll make a poster, put it in somebody's office, right? The new Falcon that we have, singlets that I've done for the wrestling community. I love playing around and designing. Even the Encore logo, right? Just coming up with, what are we taking out of this? How does it relate? And everything has a meaning. Right, the Encore logo has like little squares sideways and like a diamond, triangles, but each one of those symbols actually means something.
Right.
And so I think that design aspect I love. I wish I had more time to actually do it. I wish that I was better at it.
Yeah.
So kind of, and that they kind of all go together, right? Like, so the design aspects, the business, and then my family. So like, hopefully it all one day comes together, and I'm able to kind of have them all work in unison.
Well, it sounds like you need about 3 or 4 Shawn Girches. Three or 4 clones, you'd be good. One would be a full-time coach, one a full-time dad, one full-time designer, one full-time business.
That's like 3 times as many people that can be irritated at me. So I don't know if I want that. Like,
oh man, but yeah, it's a lot of things. And shout out to you for I feel as though that there are a lot of things that you and I kind of mirror as far as like things we're like passionate about or whatever. And one of the things that really resonated with me when I got here was like just the lack of overall like school spirit. So there wasn't a lot of school spirit visually. Like there was a lot of things like internally there was obviously the school, but visually it wasn't a lot going on. Like you came in here and you were like, is this a school? I don't know. It doesn't feel like it is. It just feels like it's a building.
You said people were in Westminster shirts.
Oh, for sure. For sure. So there's a lot of things that I try to do solo to try to improve those things. So when you came in, it's like, oh, somebody else that like actually enjoys doing some of this stuff. I think you've kind of helped to take it to even another level as far as that's concerned. So that part, I definitely give you a huge shout out to as well. But yeah, man. So is there anything else that you wanted to mention, talk about? I also want to give you a shout out because you are in the Aspiring Principals Academy that Maryland is MASSP is partnering up with to kind of bring that experience to select individuals throughout the state. You happen to be one of the individuals that was selected, so kudos to that. We just had our first session this past Saturday, early morning session, but I think it was well worth it. And you'll have a few of those as the school year goes on. But kudos for you, man, being selected for something like that and actually seeing yourself in that capacity of like moving forward after you get done being assistant principal, man.
Yeah, I mean, it really it goes back to, so out of college, I was a financial advisor, right? Loved doing that, but I loved coaching so much. So after I got married, I decided to quit that job because I had health insurance through my wife now, and just literally served tables for a year while I was going back to school. And I literally said while I was in school, I'm going to be a principal. Like, it wasn't going back to school to teach. Is like I wanted to take that leadership and that business that I had the background in and just put it in the education, like, bucket. And hopefully I'll be there soon. I still have those goals. Still want to keep moving up. Still want to be able to, inspire people. That's really, really the idea. At that leadership academy, they asked, "Hey, what is it that you hope when you retire people say about you?" And they said, "What do you want students to say? What do you want teachers to say? Admin to say?" To me, I was like, I don't want it to be different. I want my kids, my wife, my friends, my colleagues, my students, all to say the same thing, and that's that I inspired them and they were able to be better, right? That's honestly what it is. And in order to get there, there's a lot of road bumps. There's a lot of things in the way. So, but I mean, I tell the kids every day, you got to learn, you got to grow, and if you're doing that, we're in the right direction. So, I mean, yeah, that's my aspiration. I hope to continue to work. I appreciate everything you've done. I always say, like, well, Michael said this, or hey, this is where we're going. So it's good to have those conversations and actually see that other people might be just as crazy with the ideas and the thoughts and in practice. So I'm excited. I'm love being here. I tell everybody every day, like, for every little thing that we might complain about, we don't have issues here. We have no issues. If you want an issue, we can take you to a few schools. But the kids are amazing. The staff are amazing. The parents are amazing. I mean, I live in the community, so I get the good and the bad of all of it, right? Like, so I love being here. It's amazing.
Yeah, and I tell people all the time, I told the faculty this, like, beginning of the year, I'm like, we get paid for this. Can you believe it? You know what I mean? Like, to me, that's a big deal because I love doing what I do each and every day, and just sitting on this podcast doing, like, it's something that brings me joy. Changing people's lives brings me joy. Being an advocate for people brings me joy. Again, helping people get to a next level in life brings me joy, and have that kind of impact on people's lives. Like, we're talking about 1,300, maybe 1,400 lives, and we ain't even including parents and everybody else that we come into play with. But, like, to me, what other job can you impact that many lives in a year? You know what I mean? Like, nobody else
have a new set next year, and then a new and the other ones that graduate don't go away.
Correct.
I mean, we saw it at homecoming weekend. Like, the amount of kids that are coming up to me, even the ones that you have to suspend, you have to have real conversations with. They adore when they out here. They adore what you've done for them.
Correct.
It's great.
Doesn't go away. Yeah. So, Shawn, look, man, that is a wrap. I mean, this was such a great conversation and great to have you on. I think that you embody kind of what Winters Mill is really all about and have been at. And I think that passion comes through each and every day with how you kind of do the job. And I think you're going to continue to get better and better and better and better. And like you and I talked, it's all about you being open-minded, you know, being coachable, which I would say you do very well. If there's something that comes up, you and I have personal conversations about it. You literally will focus in on that and try to improve that one aspect and be serious about that. And it shows. So I tell people all the time, you don't have to be the most talented. You know what I mean? You don't have to be, but you do have to be coachable. Like that's one of my non-negotiables. Like if you're coachable and you listen, then okay, like we talk about making mistakes. Well, if you learn from a mistake or whatever, cool. We can kind of move forward. And those are people that I can deal with and work with, man. So appreciate you being on the pod.
It's been a pleasure.
Yes, sir. This is just a reminder to everybody. Remember, Encore Podcast, we're going to continue to give you all more content of what you all want. Continue to stay tuned. If you have not subscribed, please do so. Tell your friends and everybody else. Because again, this content is about making everybody better, and hopefully you feel that with each and every episode that we have. Stay tuned. We'll have more individuals coming forward soon, students and staff. And again, me personally, you'll have more content from me as well. So appreciate you guys. See you guys again next time. Thanks.